Here, read this.
Woof.
Hey everybody, Ash here from the Here Read This podcast. Today I'm going to review a film version of The Tempest from 2010. Adapted and directed by Julie Taymor and featuring an all-star cast, this Tempest puts a matriarchal spin on the play, turning Prospero into Prospera. Taymor is a prolific stage and film director, her theatre credits ranging from Shakespeare to Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, while on film she is best known for Frida and Across the Universe, both of which feature her trademark frenetic visuals, also on show in her earlier and in my opinion much more successful Shakespeare film adaptation, Titus. On paper, the strange music of The Tempest and its unusual dependence on special effects seems tailor-made for Taymor, so it's especially disappointing that the visuals in this film look like B-roll from an Enya video. Follow that up with embarrassingly bad performances, amateurish blocking of scenes, cinematography that robs the all-important location of The Tempest of any sense of dimension, and a pointless gender swap, and all you can do is shrug and reflect that good wombs have borne bad sons. The film opens with Miranda awkwardly holding some symbolism before breaking into a Tom Cruise run. This is Felicity Jones as Miranda, one of Shakespeare's true innocents, and I always think it must be very difficult to play these roles in earnest and not let any cynicism or self-parody slip in, which I guess Jones manages, but if she does know what her lines mean, she hides it very well.
How beauteous mankind is. Oh, brave. New world that has such people in it.
Again and again, the sense of the line is completely at odds with the emotion Jones assigns to it.
Wherefore did they not that hour destroy us?
Wherefore would you say that petulantly? I mean, did anyone check if she was good at Shakespeare before she was cast?
Felicity was somebody who Julie picked out from a still photograph.
Oh.
She said, I love the way she looks, hope she can act.
Some actors are so neurotic about saying Shakespeare differently to those that have come before them that they end up performing it like the national anthem renditions at the Super Bowl or something, scattering stresses and pauses randomly throughout the line just to be different and not caring what effect it has on the sense. Is this a dagger which I see before me? Doesn't mean anything unless Macbeth is driving over a cattle grid. So here's Helen Mirren. The big draw of the film really is a Helen Mirren Prospero. She's a Shakespeare veteran and has just the right kind of authority to play this part.
I was just standing on the rocks, looking at the ocean and thinking of some lines I have, and you that on the sands with printless foot do chase the ebbing Neptune and then do fly him when he comes back. In other words, the little spirit that run after the waves and then run back to avoid the waves when Neptune, the king of the sea, pushes the waves back on shore. And watching these incredible waves here, you can just, those lines absolutely come to life.
Unfortunately, there are few moments where Mirren gets to show what she's capable of, so completely is her role undermined by this pointless gender swap. If your reasons for a gender swap begin and end at casting, i.e. wouldn't Helen Mirren make a good Prospero, you don't need to rewrite the play to explain it.
And as I was watching it, I thought this could be played by a woman quite easily. You wouldn't really have to change very much in the play.
And obviously we changed all the he's to she's and the lords to mum.
If you present an audience with a non-traditional casting choice that you are proud of and confident in, an audience will almost always go along with it. It doesn't need to be rationalized within the lore of the play. You will only spend more time drawing attention to logical flaws and away from what makes your casting choice exciting. A female actor playing Henry V will provoke your audience to think about gender and power in all sorts of interesting ways, and the words and action are already there to do that. Calling her Henrietta V will lumber that with distracting inconsistencies.
I think it becomes more of a thing that was done to her gender as much as her person.
The irony here is that Prospero is a prototypical patriarch. If you kept him that way, there are many moments in the script that richly support a criticism of patriarchy. He can be made to seem controlling, possessive, paranoid, arrogant, proud, vain, even abusive. There are moments in the play that have been used very effectively to show spasms of patriarchal anger, such as when Prospero demands Ferdinand not break Miranda's virgin knot before they wed. If a production wishes, this can be a really ugly moment, a slip of Prospero's benevolent mask. Here, it's just delivered with a look of blank irritation, the best Helen Mirren can do because it comes from nowhere.
But if thou dost break her virgin knot before all sanctimonious ceremonies, no sweet aspersion shall the heavens let fall to make this contract grow.
There is no possessive paternalism afoot here. Any trace of it has been replaced by a faultless matriarch.
A mother's love is very different than a father's love.
So the film wants to criticise something it has gone out of its way to remove, and consequently there is felt throughout the film a weird emotional dissonance. First, we are asked to accept that Prospero is no longer a male patriarch, and then we are asked to remember he once was in order to reprimand his ghost. It's like changing Macbeth so that he doesn't go through with murder, but then still can't wash the blood from his hands. I think it's far more likely that Helen Mirren playing a paternalistic male Prospero could have done this job so much better, and without all the convolutions and awkwardnesses that come of making your interpretation work within the lore of the play. I'm not saying Prosperas and Henrietta V's are impossible or shouldn't be attempted, but they need to be approached like the wholesale rewrites they are. When you alter foundational elements of these texts, changing some he's to she's won't cover it. Neither do the additional lines this film includes regarding Prospera's new backstory. To Taymor's credit, the lines don't sound jarringly awful.
Standing studies now, he's slandering and bile-dipped brush did paint a faithless portrait.
But it is easier to embellish Shakespeare when his verse is as chopped up as it is here.
The language of the play tends to pull you into a kind of a poetic speaking which really doesn't work for film.
So while the additional lines sound okay, not only are they included at the cost of more Shakespeare lines, but they get in the film's way by pointing out problems in its own premise.
On my father's death, authority was conferred, as was his will, to me alone.
Prospero is a duke, obsessed by his work, who after losing the mother of his child is thrown into a boat with his daughter and forced to become an unlikely single parent. Prospera is a hard-working but devoted single mum who literally has one hand on her desk and the other on the cradle. She loses a dukedom we have no reason to believe she wanted, and ends up in a situation we have no reason to believe she wouldn't want: the freedom to work unheeded in the company of her beloved daughter.
But in this era, women were not really allowed to study the sciences, the dark sciences, the white sciences, alchemy, and her younger brother, finding this an opportunity, had her convicted of witchcraft.
There's half a stab at making her a persecuted witch.
The devil speaks in her.
No.
But because the persecution results in effectually the same punishment as the male Prospero receives, it doesn't feel very convincing. And if they really wanted to talk about threatened men persecuting witches, could they not have used the witch that's already in the play?
Hast thou forgot the foul witch, Sycorax?
Shakespeare's Tempest, in the words of David Lynch, leaves you room to dream. Prospero may well be a devoted parent, but his interests unmistakably align with the desires of his daughter, meaning you can't altogether deny the possibility that he may be using his Miranda's happiness as leverage to regain political power. It's an uneasy possibility, one that allows an actor, if they choose, to imply dimensions of guilt and self-reproach into their performance. But where Prospero leaves you ambiguities, Prospera creates contradictions, forcing the script to contort itself more than Ben Whishaw trying to hide his balls. I can see what they were going for with Ariel, being elemental and changing into wind and sea and frogs. But for a figure of such mutability, his appearances always feel like they're being wheeled in on a heavy trolley. In the play, Miranda never lays eyes on Ariel. Prospero quickly magics his daughter asleep seconds before Ariel appears at his side. Here, Prospera magics her daughter asleep before walking into a whole new scene to summon Ariel from a pond. The reason for this clumsiness and pointless sedating of a child is that the actor playing the omnipresent Ariel couldn't be present.
But right at the beginning when I asked Ben, he'd been working all year and he said, I can't go to Hawaii when you're shooting. And I thought to myself, can I do this without him on location?
The effects in this film don't make you think how did they do that so much as why. Why did they give Ben Whishaw boobs in this scene? Why did they replace the mask with flying maths turning into boobs? Why did they give Ben Whishaw boobs in this scene? Why? Why? Why?
How's Ariel gonna leave?
He doesn't have to leave. Why does he have to leave? He's going to be here in a
Major
minute.
cost in visual effects and aesthetics. We must get rid of him.
Why they went to such lengths and spent such an amount of money to accommodate Ben Whishaw, I have no idea. He is awful as Ariel. His decisions on screen never fail to irritate, his line delivery is pouty and tone-deaf,
Presently?
Aye, with a twink.
Before you can say come and go. Do you love me, master?
His conception of Ariel seems to be the same kind of ambiguously effeminate, wounded schoolboy he finds wherever he is cast.
No,
Thou dost.
I do not, ma'am.
And of course, we are treated to his famous if in doubt, flick your eyes about method. Because it doesn't matter what's happening in the scene, deep down, Ben Whishaw characters are always watching some tennis. Okay, Ben, you're searching for words as the mortician draws back the sheet and your world falls apart. Okay, Ben, it's Christmas morning and you're tucking into a big fat slice of simnel cake.
Vanished, is not this true?
Aye, ma'am.
Blue-eyed hag.
Okay, Ben, you're a cow in a field on a hot day and insects are buzzing in your eyes.
The rarer action is in virtue than in vengeance. They being
While we're at it, let's quickly talk about Ferdinand. He is the perfect partner to Miranda in that he also delivers his lines like he can't wait to get rid of them.
I'd rather crack my sinews.
I mean, did anyone check if he could do Shakespeare before he was cast?
Julie actually found me as a musician, so that's how I got into this. It wasn't from acting at all.
Oh.
I'm almost embarrassed to say it, but I had never read The Tempest, so when I found out that Prospero was originally a man, I was actually quite disappointed.
Oh. The only noteworthy thing about the performance of Ferdinand is that the musician playing him appears to have interpreted him as being blind. In almost every shot, his eye line is dramatically off where it should be.
At first sight, they have changed eyes.
No, I think he's exchanged his eyes with a bat. I'm not going to go through the entire cast in as much detail. Annoyingly, the smaller parts tend to have better actors. Alfred Molina is a good Stefano. Tom Conti, playing Gonzalo, is probably the best actor after Helen Mirren. Antonio and Sebastian are played by Chris Cooper and Alan Cumming, who are okay. And King Alonso is played by that big blue eagle from the Muppets. But we do need to talk about Caliban. Prosper and Miranda go to find him in another sequence demonstrating that the filmmakers have a fantastic location that they don't know how to film. They somehow manage to make one island look like 6 different locations, incoherently edited together. I know the Enchanted Isle is meant to be strange and changeable, but this never feels deliberate in the film.
This is the island of the Tempest.
Like, why do the characters just meet randomly and for some reason not see each other?
Whoa, whoa, whoa! What have we here?
It makes the film feel like a stage version that was rushed into a surprised location with no time to prepare, which it wasn't. So Caliban just pops up to provide the play with yet another wretched performance. Djimon Honsou shouts away his lines.
This island is mine!
Gives them the old Blackadder roar.
To be or not to be. Ah! All the infections that the sun sucks up from bugs.
Unaccustomed as I am.
Moos. Or sensing it's a famous bit, delivers the whole thing in a hypnotized monotone.
Sometimes 1,000 twinkling instruments will hum about my ears.
And I don't get the design of Caliban. He seems to have some kind of lunar vitiligo. Personally, I think the rule of thumb with Caliban is that he should look strange, something that men haven't seen before. Preferably, he shouldn't just surprise Stefano and Trinculo, but the audience as well. Taymor's stage version from the 80s looks so much better, a genuinely weird look modelled on Papua New Guinea statues. Not just some guy who's had flaky skin since he went to that moon festival.
The monster that he is conceived at, he's slightly surreal. The image of moon and calf, he's got these splotches like a calf of white skin and black skin.
You get the very strong feeling in this film that the actors are all in completely different plays.
Shakespeare is writing about the New World, and he is writing about colonialization.
Djimon Honsou is in a play about colonialization, but in place of the paternal imperialist, Helen Mirren stars in a play about something done to her gender.
It's a myth in a way, in that the characters are representational.
Felicity Jones believes the characters are all representational, but her director is keen to ground them all in reality.
I set it in a real environment.
Taymor can't even agree with her key collaborators on what the point of the play even is.
The theme of The Tempest is nature versus nurture.
If you think about the whole play, the most important word is freedom.
And just when you think it can't get any worse, a circa 2010 Russell Brand appears, which is every bit as awful as it sounds, but I have to give Brand credit for actually delivering his lines as if he knows what they mean.
Don't say Black Cloud!
Yond huge one. Looks like a foul bombard that would shed his liquor.
Trinculo is actually a nickname because I'm in love of trinkets, of brightly coloured things, objects, objets d'art, anything really, anything that twinkles, sparkles, anything that a magpie might light its claw upon, that's where you'll find me. If I see something sparkly, even the glint in an eye of a fair maiden, I'm on it.
From the behind-the-scenes documentary, Brand seems to have worked out what he's going for with Trinculo, which really bears fruit when he's allowed to ad-lib and capitalise on that natural comedic talent.
Looking for business, Governor?
The music is also additional landscape on the movie.
And this landscape is a mess, which explains why we have cheesy rock 1 minute and then this the next.
In delay there lies no plenty, then come kiss me sweet and 20.
The costumes are also a mess. Helen Mirren looks like she's about to do some borrowing. Russell Brand looks like he's brought some clothes from home. Ferdinand looks like he's in Maroon 5, and Caliban looks like he's just had some heavy news from his dermatologist. The film wants to be a carnival, but it also wants to be grounded, like how it wants to be realistic, but also representational.
It's always throwing a wrench into something.
There are so many contradictory ideas happening at once that in the end, this is not throwing a wrench in Shakespeare adaptation, but throwing a wrench at a pile of wrenches.
This is called My Bondage Cinderella.
Yes.
In summary, it's not very good. Next time, I'll try to find an adaptation to recommend, but for now, I think we should all read a book.